So they're looking for upfront profits, for improving their operations, for becoming low-cost manufacturers or operators. And that, of course, means that we have to demonstrate that our product offers that. And then later, they're very happy to probably adopt green technologies that will benefit or reduce emissions as well.
Hello, you're watching Proactive. Joining me in the studio today is Peter Borup. He's the CEO of Quadrise. Peter, very nice to have you in the studio in person today. So can you reflect on your first few months at Quadrise? How has the company's approach changed since you came on board?
Well, the great thing about starting a new place is that everything seems to be straightforward and simple. But as you start looking at the details and the different challenges, look around in the corners, things look different, right? You realize that there are trade-offs between the different courses of strategic action you want to take. I would say the Quadrise I came into, I think, had a very robust and good strategy. I'm just very mindful also that the world is changing quite rapidly around us, and it's not just the usual things: volatility in the marketplace, delay in regulatory acts. But it's also that the world as we know it is changing, and that is changing the reaction from many of the people we need to do business with, right? They become more focused on their bottom lines. I think what we have perhaps done more of now, also because we have more bandwidth, we have more hands, more people who know our end client, which tends to be shipping people, is to try to do things in parallel and not in sequence. So obviously for us, it's really, really important to get a trial conducted. And we have a project with MSAR, which we are still hoping to wrap up within too long. But there's no reason why we shouldn't pursue trials with other ship owners, for example. We need to speed up on the feedstock deliveries, find partners who can supply both the fuel oil and the biofuels. And we just need to speed that up and also do that in parallel to the trials, because otherwise we're going to lose out, I think.
Tell us more about the marketplace as you see it at the moment and how it is changing, and also the International Maritime Organisation.
Yeah, because that was the big gift I got just when I started, right? That they suspended the regulation that had been planned to be adopted in London in October last year, September-October last year. and it didn't happen, and it was suspended for a year. I think, for one, I believe there's still Fuel EU and the EU Emissions Trading Scheme, which are both very useful schemes for the adoption of green fuels and green technologies. Whether it's going to happen within a year, I really don't know. Initially, our assessment was that it wouldn't really hurt our business because the MSAR technologies benefit from low capital expenditure, not very expensive in operation either. And if you're going with a basic MSAR, it's cheaper than conventional fuels. So I don't think we are impacted by that even now. I think it's also pretty clear from the conversations we are having with the regulatory authorities around the world is that they have all sort of translated the EU regulations, right? And they're ready to adopt them in large part if the IMO doesn't get concluded successfully. I think what's really changed is that the world is seeking for stability. We're clearly in a transition phase, and much smarter people than I have described this as a rupture and not just as a transition. And I think that's weighing on the minds of our clients and our partners. So they're looking for upfront profits, for improving their operations, for becoming low-cost manufacturers or operators. And that, of course, means that we have to demonstrate that our product offers that. And then later, they're very happy to probably adopt green technologies that will benefit or reduce emissions as well.
So the IMO decision hasn't thrown you off course at all?
Not at all, but I do think that all the other things are adding to a much more complex business environment. And we have all heard companies looking for resilience and backup plans and having extra storage and extra this and extra that because it's so unpredictable, starting with COVID. But with the world under redesign from these international institutions we rely on for rules and regulation and conflict resolution, to just understanding who are allies and who are not. People will resort to what makes sense, and that is to make sure you have strong buffers in your operational costs as well, right? And that makes our job, doesn't change it, but it makes it more important that we can demonstrate that you can save money by using our fuels.
So what are you putting in place? What are your priorities for 2026 at Quadrise?
The absolutely most important thing is to get our trials up and running with MSC. So there are some contracts we need to sort out. We are in a position now where I feel there's progress. We have very constructive discussions with the 2 to 3 partners that are involved in that. And then we can go ahead with the trial once that's concluded. We are trying to find other ship owners who are willing to join in. And ship owners like to say about themselves that they're never first movers. They like to be early adopters, but they want to see somebody else try it out and fail or succeed, and then they can come in later, which has served them well for generations, right? But with the shipping expertise we have on board, both on our board but also in the organization, I think we can identify. I know we can identify the people who are willing to take the risk and be the first movers, right? So we're talking to them. And I will say that we've actually had meaningful conversations with all of them, getting through to the right people and being considered. Whether it's going to end up with a trial, I don't know, but we're working quite hard on it. I might also say that a lot of what we're doing, I'm a little bit restless by nature, and I find it extremely difficult that we don't just have something signed and we can move on and we can try it out and we can get on to the next thing. But I'm also very mindful that these are all large organizations. They have their own diaries, their own internal rules, and we have to respect that and work with it, right? But still keep up the pace. The things we can control is the execution of our strategy, so that we go to other ship owners and we, even if they don't want to be the first ones to trial it, they get a familiarity with the technology, which is good. Right on the heels of getting 1+ trials, we need to get much closer to the refineries, because they have to provide the feedstock, and they need to be able to see the economy in this too, because they're not making a commitment for half a year or for a trial. They want to see something longer term, and they have to be able to see that there's an economy in it for them and for us and for the ship owner, right? And we've had to accelerate that. So we've added to our own staff, and we are now we're just signing agreements with people who can help us, who have a special insight or special access. So we sort of try to fire a little bit on all cylinders, because some of this stuff is fairly specialized, not skills we have in our organization or that we can easily acquire. So we have to use consultants for it. But we need to do that, because before we know it, we have to scale up, right? And with some of the people who would do a trial, they won't consider that unless they can see there's a future production of this in volumes that are sufficient for them to use it afterwards. So we have to do that at the same time. So that's front and center in everything we do. I think I would be doing my job badly if we didn't have an eye on the future as well, and what are the strengths that we have in our different relationships. I remember one quote from Hank Greenberg once, who said all he wanted from life was an unfair advantage. We're not likely to get that, but what we should look for is where our size doesn't prevent us from getting an asymmetrical advantage. And so we need to be good at the digitalization, the technology adaptation that is coming around now. And we cannot delay that until we've done all the other stuff, because then we are going to lose out. But I believe we can do that without investing totally in AI upfront. I think much of what has to happen is not going to, we can call it AI because everybody else does, but really it's digitalization. So we need to start refining our use cases. We need to understand exactly what data is it that makes a difference in these use cases for our clients, but also for our own product development. And then we have to make sure we have that. And we have quite a decent data infrastructure already now, but we need to invest in retracing some of the stuff we did already back in 2006. So we actually have a very long history. And I can see that many of the players in this space in blended fuels, they come to us first, some of the big players in biofuels. So we clearly have a name and a reputation in this space that plays into this idea. So first, trials, feedstocks, but we shouldn't forget that we can make small investments that will serve us really, really well. We are part of a couple of EU-funded research projects that includes digital twins And that would fit in really well in such a strategy, I would assume. Now we do our use cases first, but that's one way of looking forward, certainly.
Peter, I hope you'll keep us updated with your progress. It sounds like a very busy year ahead for you. Thank you so much for coming in today.
Thank you so much.
Peter Borup, the CEO of Quadrise.